Morning, everybody. Glad you're here today. And if you'd like to follow along this morning, we will be in the third chapter of Proverbs, beginning in the 21st verse. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 21. Even though we are in the middle of a chapter, we are actually starting a new section. You'll notice verse 21 begins, "My son." And so it is, again, that indicates that the writer, the father, is shifting to something different, to a new set of instructions for his son. And he is going to continue with a somewhat similar theme of encouraging the son to seek and to find, to follow godly wisdom, and to encourage him to do that. And so we'll begin in verse 21. And here, one of the things that we notice changes a little bit. To begin with, we saw in the verse 1, the beginning of the chapter, that the author, the father, was encouraging his son to receive the wisdom. But now what we're going to see is that he starts talking more about don't just receive it, but keep it, hang on to it, use it. A lot of people, and I'm sure probably everybody listening can relate to a time when maybe a grandparent or someone came along and said, let me tell you something, let me teach you something, and you stood there and nodded your head and thanked them and listened to what they had to say, and then went out and done what you wanted to. Suffered the consequences, and then later would reflect back and go, man, I should have listened to what they told me. Well, that's what the father is trying to keep from happening with the son. He's telling him, seek the wisdom, but then once you find the wisdom, keep it, hang on to it. Look in verse 21, he said, let them not depart from thine eyes, keep sound wisdom and discretion. And so he's telling him, don't just hear it, but the phrase would be to be a hearer and a doer. Keep that wisdom. You may not need it today. You may not need it tomorrow, but the day will come when that wisdom will be beneficial to you. And again, probably many of you who are with us this morning can identify with that thought too, that you've had something, maybe again a parent or grandparent say something to you, and it may be many years later when it becomes appropriate, become useful. You remember it and put it into play in your life. And so he's telling him to keep that. And the word keep means not just to retain it. Don't just put it in a book and put it on a shelf somewhere, but to observe it, to continue to follow the wisdom and the discretion of God, to keep God's commandments. So shall they be life unto thy soul and grace to thy neck. He says that wisdom will benefit you. It will help you in your life. It breathes life into the person. That it helps us through all of life. And the image that he uses there in verse 22, grace to thy neck, the idea is like wisdom is like a a beautiful necklace around. So it adorns you. And perhaps maybe you can think of someone who in your life you know who really lived out godly wisdom, who really practiced it, and it was again, it was like a necklace around their neck. It was something, you see somebody with a really pretty necklace on. Many times that'll be maybe the first thing you notice about them. And I can think of a few people that God has brought across my path. I'm going to not call out names here today, but a few that when I think about them, their wisdom is one of the first things that I can recall about their life is what stands out. They had a lot of things again about them that was really important, but their wisdom was what really, even to this day. And every one of them that I can think of that runs through my mind right now have passed away. And even though they've passed away, what really stands out in my memory is the wisdom, the godly wisdom in the way they conducted their life. And he says, continues, he says, then shalt thou walk in thy way safely, and thy foot shall not stumble. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid, yet thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. When you live your life according to wisdom, he says that's the safe way. That's the right way to live your life. And it's a picture of for them, especially in that day when they would take a long journey and go through the wilderness, go through the desert, go through those situations where many times there were criminals and they had to sleep outside. He says, you'll be safe because of that wisdom. As we go through this journey of life, he says, godly wisdom will help protect us. It will give us leadership and guidance. And so it keeps us in tune with the Lord. And the challenge then that we have in these verses is the same challenge again that this son was given. Don't just be hearers of the word. Don't just nod our head nicely and say, okay, I hear you. But that we take that word and we keep that word as he's written here, and that wisdom is part of our daily walk, part of our decision-making process. Not the world's wisdom, not the way the world thinks, but the way God thinks. That we govern our life in that way. And he says, if we do, we walk safely, and our foot will not stumble. We'll be able to lay down at night and not be afraid. What a challenge for us today. What a challenge and a promise as we live our life to seek and to find and to keep godly wisdom. I hope you'll think about that today as you go about life. Don't just seek wisdom, but then keep and follow, obey the wisdom of God. Have a good day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.